Hello, my friends. Tonight, our three stories. Three are Milo Imagines the World, One Day in the Eucalyptus Tree, and we are in chapter 7 of the Boxcar Children. Chapter 7, A Big Meal from Little Onions. We'll get to that in a minute. First, Milo imagines the world. There's Milo. Words by Matt de la Peña and pictures by Christian Robinson. From this picture and this cover, I think Milo likes to draw. See, he has a pencil behind his ear, and look at all the drawings that are on the cover. I think he likes to draw pictures. Milo imagines the world. And he's got crayons too. Blue, orange, brown, green. And he has, another green crayon over there. And I think a pencil sharpener. And an eraser. And a sketchbook that says Milo. Milo is an artist. What begins as a slow, distant glow grows and grows into a tired train that clatters down the tracks. A cool rush of wind quiets into a screech of steel, and when the doors slide open, Milo slips aboard. Do you see Milo in the yellow hat in front of the train door? Do you still see Milo? Right there. There's Milo. The train bucks back into motion as he and his sister squeeze onto bench seats. A whiskered man beside Milo has a face of concentration. That's him. A businessman has a blank, lonely face. The wedding-dressed woman near the far door has a face made of light. While the dog peeking out of her handbag has no face at all, just a long, lolling tongue. Arf! These monthly Sunday subway rides are never ending, and as usual, Milo is a shook-up soda. Excitement stacked on top of worry, on top of confusion, on top of love. To keep himself from bursting, he studies the faces around him and makes pictures of their lives. I wonder why he's worried and confused. And he's loving somebody. He's excited about something. I don't know what yet, though. I guess we'll find out. At a downtown local stop, the whiskered man folds up his crossword and hurries off the train. Milo imagines him trudging through brown mounds of slush. It's a 5-flight climb to his cluttered apartment, where he's greeted by mewling cats and burrowing rats. Parakeets tweet songs of longing as the man sips tepid soup hunched over a game of solitaire. Late that night, the door to the parakeet cage mysteriously falls open and the cats gather on the cold sill to watch the birds fly free above the city. Oh, so every time Milo sees someone on the subway, remember he saw this man doing the crossword puzzle? Milo draws pictures of where he imagines they're going and what they're doing. So these are Milo's drawings in his sketchbook. Not really what's happening, but what he imagines is happening. Milo tugs his sister's sleeve and holds up his picture. But even when she turns to look, he can tell she doesn't see. She's a shook up soda, too. She's excited about the same thing Milo is. We don't know what that is. A boy in a suit boards the train with his dad. His hair is a perfect part, and there's not a single scuff on his bright white Nikes. Milo imagines the clop, clop, clop of the horse-drawn carriage that will carry him to his castle. Imagines the clink, clink, clink of the guards slowly lowering the drawbridge. Across the human-made moat, the boy is met by a butler, 2 maids, and a gourmet chef offering crust-free sandwich squares. Can you see that? Milo flips to a fresh page at the bustling Midtown stop. When the wedding-dressed woman strides off the train, a band of street performers launches into Here Comes the Bride, and everyone on the platform stops and cheers. Milo imagines the grand cathedral ceremony where the couple will be pronounced husband and wife. Imagines the groom whisking his new bride to an awaiting hot air balloon where the pilot loads them in with blankets and blasts the heat. And up, up they go hand in hand beyond the concrete walls of the city into an infinite blue. Milo holds up this picture too, but his sister shoos him away. Can't you see I'm playing my game? He watches her thumbs bang around her smudged screen, then turns back to the boy in the suit. They lock eyes for a few long seconds, and suddenly it feels like the walls are closing in around Milo. The spell is broken when a crew of breakers bounds onto the train announcing, "Y'all ready for a show?" Several curious faces look up as the beat drops. And now the girls are walking up walls. They're whirling around poles. They're backflipping over shopping bags. When the train pulls to the next stop, they collect a few dollars and scramble for another car. Milo imagines them getting from train to train, doing their act as everyone watches. But even after the performances are over, faces still follow their every move when they walk down the electronics aisle at the department store, when they cross into a fancy neighborhood. Milo doesn't really like this picture, so he puts away his pad and turns to his reflection in the window. What do people imagine about his face? Can they see him reciting his volcano poem to the class? Can they hear his mom's soothing voice reading him a bedtime book over the phone? Can they smell the chili Colorado bubbling in a pot in his auntie's apartment near the cemetery? I wonder why his mom reads him bedtime stories over the phone. Look, see, he's in bed, and he's holding up a phone. His mom's not there, but she's reading to him over the phone. For some reason, she can't be there. I don't know why. Butterflies flood Milo's stomach when it's finally their stop. He follows his sister onto the cold station platform and up the stairs. Above ground, he's surprised to see the boy in the suit a few paces behind. He's even more surprised when the boy joins the long line to pass through the metal detector. You see the boy there in the suit right there? And there's Milo back there. Milo's sister suddenly bends to give him a hug. I didn't mean to snap at you, she says. She takes his hand, adding, You have your picture ready? He nods, feeling the warmth of her fingers. As they slowly shuffle forward, Milo studies the boy in the suit, his dad rubbing his thin shoulders. And a thought occurs to him. Maybe you can't really know anyone just by looking at their face. Milo tries to reimagine all the pictures he made on the train. Maybe he could have done it like this instead. There's the man with the beard doing the crossword puzzle. Or this. And there's the woman in the wedding dress that was on the subway. Or this. And he says, Welcome home. Milo's chest fills with excitement when he spots his mom through the crowd. His sister rushes to give her a hug before pulling Milo in too, and it's in this tight tangle of familiar arms that he feels most alive. There's his mom. Oh, do you see she's wearing an orange jumpsuit? Orange jumpsuit. And then there are guards here and here. Milo's mom must be incarcerated. She's in a prison. And they're going to visit. That's why she can't read. That's why she has to read to him over the phone. Because she's not there right now. When they separate, Milo flips through his pad until he finds the right picture. I made this for you, he says, holding it up. And he watches for the smile he hopes will spread across his mom's face. What a great picture he drew for his mom. They're having ice cream in his mom's home. And there's his sister, and there's Milo. And there's their cat. Meow. Duh. End. Next stop. One day in the eucalyptus tree. Can you say eucalyptus? It's a type of tree, and the leaves smell very nice. One day in the eucalyptus tree. Words by Daniel Bernstrom and pictures by Brendan Wenzel. Ooh, what is that? What do you think that is? I wonder if we'll find out. One day in the leaves of the eucalyptus tree hung a scare in the air where no eye could see, when along skipped a boy with a whirly-twirly toy to the shade of the eucalyptus tree. Do you see the scare in the air? Do you see the tail here? That probably goes behind all these leaves. Oh, look, there's more of it, and out comes... It's a snake. It's a big old snake, like a boa constrictor. Down, down slid the snake from the leaves of the tree and gobbled up the boy with his whirly-twirly toy one day in the eucalyptus tree. Gulp. The snake ate the boy. That's awful. I'll bet, said the boy, in the belly, dark and deep, that you're still very hungry, and there's more you can eat. Do you think, said the snake to the boy with the toy, that there's room for something yummy with you inside my tummy? Cheep, cheep, came a chirp from the leaves of the tree. Oh, a bird with a worm in a game of hide and seek. Do you see the bird? Do you see the worm? Worm. Sneaky Slidey zipped the snake from his place in the leaves and gobbled up the bird and her ooey gooey worm one day in the eucalyptus tree. So now in the snake's belly is the boy and the bird and the bird's worm.
I'll bet,
said the boy in the belly dark and deep,
that you're still very hungry and there's more you can eat.
Came a stir from the leaves of the tree. Oh, a cat in a nap on his furry, furry back. Under over slid the snake from his place in the leaves and gobbled up the cat in his dozy, cozy nap. Meow! One day in the eucalyptus tree. Ooh, look how big the snake's tummy's getting. Oh my goodness, look at this. We've got a bird and a worm and the boy and the cat. It's a lot in that snake's tummy right now.
Oh, surely, very surely, Mr. Snake,
said the boy.
There is room, still more room, so much more to enjoy.
Crinkle, crinkle came the rustle of the leaves of the tree. Oh, a sloth, cloaked in moss, sipping leafy, leafy tea. Wiggle Waggle stretched the snake from his place in the leaves and gobbled up the sloth, clothed in fuzzy wuzzy moss, one day in the eucalyptus tree. Can you remember all of the things in the big snake's tummy now? We've got the bird and the boy and the cat and the sloth and the worm.
I'll bet,
said the boy in the belly dark and deep,
that you're still very hungry, and there's more you can eat.
Slurp burp came a belch from the leaves of the tree. Oh, an ape eating grapes, lounging like a queen. Twist, twist bent the snake from his place in the leaves and gobbled up the ape and her munchy bunch of grapes one day in the eucalyptus tree. Look how big this snake's stomach is getting. We have the sloth. Oh, no, that's the ape. There's the ape. There's the sloth and the worm and the bird and the cat and the boy.
Oh, surely, very surely, Mr. Snake,
said the boy.
There is room, still more room, so much more to enjoy.
Munch, munch came a crunch from the leaves of the tree. Oh, a rare kind of bear munching tasty, tasty greens. Up, up snaked the snake from his place in the leaves and gobbled up the bear with the qually wally hair. One day in the eucalyptus tree. That snake has got to be running out of room in his tummy. Because there's the bear and the cat and the sloth and the ape and the bird and the boy and the worm. Do you think, asked the snake to the boy with the toy, I should take one more bite while my tummy feels so tight?
Oh, surely, very surely, Mr. Snake,
said the boy.
There is room, so much room. Go ahead, please enjoy.
Buzz, buzz, hummed a noise from the leaves of the tree. Oh, a hive full of bees dancing happily. Creaky Eeky inched the snake from his place in the leaves and gobbled up the hive and the bumbling bees inside one day in the eucalyptus tree. He's eating a beehive. Look at that big beehive.
And look at that big tummy.
Uh-oh.
I'll bet,
said the boy in the belly dark and deep,
that you're still very hungry, that there's more you can eat.
No, said the snake.
Oh, surely, very surely, Mr. Snake,
said the boy.
There's room, still more room.
No, said the snake.
Something small?
asked the boy. Sniff, sniff, hissed the snake from his place in the leaves. Oh, a fruit, a small fruit swaying in the breeze, and on that piece of fruit, that plummy, chummy fruit, was a teeny, teeny fly. Gulp. Gurgle, gurgle, came a blurble from that belly deep and full. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Blah, blah, blah. Out whizzed the fly, out rolled the fruit, out buzzed the hive, out ran the bear, out swung the ape, out slunk the sloth, out dashed the cat, out flew the bird, out slimed the worm, and out skipped the boy with his whirly-twirly toy. And... oh, moaned the snake, I've got a crummy tummy ache. One day in the eucalyptus tree. The end. That snake was sure greedy. Let's read one more story. Lights off. Boxcar Children. Chapter 7. A big meal from little onions. Are you comfy? Are you listening? Here we go. Chapter 7, A Big Meal from Little Onions. The next morning, Jessie and Henry talked about the queer noise. They did not tell Violet and Benny. What do you think it was? Asked Jessie. Do you think it was a rabbit? I don't know, said Henry, but I think someone was in the woods. I am glad we weren't hurt. Someone must have stepped on a stick and made it crack. What shall we do? Asked Jessie. Nothing, said Henry. Watch is a good watchdog. He loves us now, and if anyone tried to hurt us, Watch would take care of us. He would do more than growl. But after this, we must not let Benny go into the woods alone. I'll keep Benny and Violet with me all the time, said Jessie. Good, said Henry, and keep Watch with you all the time, too. Good morning, Benny. Time to get up. Today you must build something for me out of stones. What is it? Asked Benny eagerly. I'm not going to tell you, said Henry, laughing. You build it just as Jessie tells you, and you will see. Henry was so eager to begin work that he ran all the way to town. The doctor came to the door and smilingly looked him over from head to foot. My mother will tell you what to do today, the doctor said. She wants you to work in her garden. Mrs. Moore, the doctor's mother, had a sweet face and looked very kind. Good morning, Henry, she said. Do you know how to thin out vegetables? Oh, yes, said Henry. I like to work in a vegetable garden. I haven't had much time to take care of my garden, Mrs. Moore said. There, see that? She pulled out a carrot. It had to come out, for it was much too near the other carrots. Yes, I see, said Henry. He began to thin out the carrots. Mrs. Moore watched him as he pulled out some of the little carrots and put them in a pile. He left the other carrots to grow. Then he began on the turnips. You're such a good worker, said Mrs. Moore. I can see that. She smiled at Henry. You may thin out all these vegetables. Then she went into the house and left Henry alone. He worked all the morning. He thinned out the carrots, turnips, and little onions. The mill bells rang at noon, but Henry did not hear them. He still worked on in the hot sun. When he saw Mrs. Moore looking at him, You've worked long enough now, she said. You may come again this afternoon. What shall I do with the vegetables I pulled up? Henry asked. Oh, I don't want them, said Mrs. Moore. Just leave them in a pile. Do you mind if I take them? Asked Henry. No, indeed. Do you have chickens? Then, without waiting for an answer, she went right on. You have done good work. Here is $1. Henry said thank you, and was glad he did not have to answer about the chickens. When Mrs. Moore went into the house, he took some of the little carrots and turnips and onions. If he had looked up, he would have seen Mrs. Moore in the window watching him, but he did not look up. He was too eager to get to the store and order some meat. When he arrived at the boxcar, Benny told him, The building is done. I helped with it. The building was a fireplace made of flat stones. Benny did a lot of the work, said Jessie. He carried stones and found wood for the fire. The fireplace was a very good one. The children and Watch had made a hole at the foot of a big rock between two trees. Flat stones were laid on the floor of this hole and around the sides. More big stones were put up to keep out the wind. Jessie had found a heavy wire in the dump and had put the big kettle on it and tied the ends of the wire to 2 trees. The kettle hung over the fireplace, and the fire was laid. Beside the fireplace was a big wood pile. "Fine, fine!" cried Henry. "You have done well. Now, see what I have." The girls were delighted with the meat and the little vegetables. With Henry's knife they cut the meat into little pieces. Then they filled the kettle with water from the fountain and put the meat into it, with a tin plate for a cover. Henry started the fire, and it burned well at once. Jessie cut the tops off the vegetables and washed them in the brook. "I'll put them in after the meat has cooked a while," she said. Soon the water began to boil, and the stew began to smell good. Watch sat down and looked at it. He sniffed hungrily at it and barked and barked. The children sat around the fireplace eating bread and milk. Now and then Jessie stirred the stew with a big spoon. "It will make a good meal," said Henry. "Keep it boiling and do not leave it. When I come home tonight I'll bring you some salt. And whatever you do, don't get on fire." Violet pointed to the pitcher and teapot that she'd filled with water. "That's to put on Benny or Watch if he should get on the fire," she said. Henry laughed and went happily on his way. He wished he could stay and smell the stew boiling, but he thought he ought to work. So he went back to Dr. Moore's house. He was very happy when Dr. Moore said, "Do you want to clean up this garage?" The garage was not in very good order. Dr. Moore laughed when he saw Henry look around for a broom. "I must go out now," said Dr. Moore. "You just clean this place up." Henry began at once. First he opened all the boxes. On the biggest box he painted the words "Tools" with a long-handled brush and a can of paint he had found. On another box he painted "Nails." Then he picked over the things and put the tools in the tool box and the nails in the nail box. This was fun for Henry because he liked to get things in order. Henry found a lot of nails that were bent and covered with rust. He put them in his pocket. "I'll ask the doctor for these bent nails," he said to himself. "They are no good to him, but they are fine for me. I can use every old nail I get." Then he washed the floor and washed his paintbrush. When Dr. Moore came home, he found Henry putting brushes, paint cans, and other things on the shelf. My," he cried. He looked at the garage and laughed and laughed. He laughed until his mother came out to see what he was laughing at. "Look, Mother," he said. "Look at those tools. Look at the shelf. Look at my hammers. 1, 2, 3, 4 hammers. Your hammer, my hammer, and 2 other hammers. They were all lost." "Can you use a hammer, Henry?" "Yes, indeed I can," cried Henry. "Take one," said Dr. Moore. "You found them all." "Oh, thank you," said Henry. He showed the doctor the bent nails and was told that he could have those too. He could hardly wait now to start home because he was so eager to show Benny and his sisters his new hammer and nails. "Tomorrow will be Sunday," said Dr. Moore. "Will you come again the next day?" "Oh, yes," he replied. Henry had lost all track of the days. "The cherries must be picked," said the doctor. He looked at Henry in a queer way. "We could use any number of cherry pickers if they all come as careful as you." "Could you?" asked Henry. "Well, I'll come." So the 3 said goodbye, and Henry started for home. He had another $1, a pocket full of old nails, a hammer, and the pile of vegetables he had left at noon. On the way home he bought some salt. When he arrived at the boxcar he began to smell a delicious smell. "Onions!" he shouted, running up to the kettle. "I do like the smell of onions." "I like the turnips best," said Violet. Jessie took off the cover carefully and stirred in the salt, and Henry sniffed the brown stew. It was boiling and boiling. "A ladle of all things!" cried Henry. "Where did you get it?" "I found a tin cup in the dump," said Jessie. "We used a long stick for a handle and tied it to the cup with a piece of wire. It makes a fine ladle." She ladled out the stew into plates and bowls and put a spoon in each one. Oh," said Benny, "I am so hungry. I must eat my supper." The meat was well cooked, and the vegetables were delicious. Violet passed her plate for more turnips. "I'd like some more onions," said Henry. All the children ate until they could eat no more. "That was the best meal I ever ate," said Jessie. "Me too," said Violet. "I have time tonight to make Benny's cart," remarked Henry. "We'll want a cart." "Will you make it with my wheels?" asked Benny. "Yes, with your wheels," answered Henry. "But you must cart stones in it when I get it done." "Yes," said Benny. "I will cart stones or rocks or anything." "Tomorrow will be Sunday, and I can stay at home," Henry went on. "Do you think it's all right, Jessie, to build the dam for a swimming pool on Sunday?" "Yes, I do," said Jessie. "We are making the swimming pool so that we can keep clean." Henry began happily to hammer out the bent nails with his new hammer. Soon he had some good nails. "You and I will go and find some boards, Benny," he said. "Come on." Soon the boys came back with some boards from the dump. Henry sat down and began to make the cart. He could not see very well because it was getting dark and there was no moon, but at last the cart was done, and he gave it to Benny. "Thank you," said Benny politely. After his sisters admired the cart, Benny pulled it around just for fun. Then Henry put it in the boxcar for the night. Henry said to Jessie, "I hope we do not hear that queer noise tonight." "I hope not too," said Jessie. Then she laughed. "Look at Benny," she said. "He has gone to sleep with his hand on the cart." Henry laughed too, but he laughed at himself because he was going to sleep with his new hammer under his pillow. And that's the end of Chapter 7. Thank you for reading with me. I love it when you get to join me for stories. And I love you too. So let's sing goodbye together. Get your fingers out. You got to get them limber and flexible. Practice waving however you want. Then hold your fist out. Put out a pointy finger and a pinky finger and a thumb. And this means I love you. So let's sing. I love you. Goodbye. I love you. Goodbye. I love you. I love you. I love you. Goodbye. See you next time. Bye.